Welcome to The 90s Weren't Real, the podcast where I dive into the pop culture, news events, and social phenomena of the 1990s, and question whether they were too surreal to be true. My name is Rebecca, and I'm very happy to be launching this podcast today so that I can share with you some of the most memorable and fascinating stories from the decade in which I was born. Today, I want to tell you all about the story of a drive-through condom store, and how it was a uniquely innovative business model that tried to help change the course of sexual history. So, picture the scene. It's 1992, in Rhode Island, in the United States. They're about to get their first drive-through condom shop. It's opening up in what is a predominantly Italian-American section of Cranston, and it's safe to say the community there are not too happy about it. The drive-through condom store quickly gathers protesters. Some of them spray paint the building, the windows, and the roof with black paint. Someone also broke one of the windows by throwing a firecracker through it. There were also people doing sermons out the front as a way of protesting, which I imagine, as somebody just casually driving past, must have been quite the scene, to see people praying that a condom store would disappear. The owner of the Condom Hut, Emanuela Del Vecchio, was 32 years old at the time and was naturally annoyed by the vandalism of her store, but pushed through with her plans to open the Condom Hut. When speaking to the Washington Post at the time, Del Vecchio said, "I heard there was going to be vandalism, boycotts, but it's just a minority that don't want it here. My whole concept is awareness. I mean, this is the 90s, the age of AIDS and hepatitis and other diseases, and people need to practice safe sex." I'm sure to the surprise of absolutely nobody, Del Vecchio was correct. AIDS, for the majority of its existence, held such a massive stigma that took a very long time to shake off. It's through work attempted by Del Vecchio, activists, awareness, and further sexual health education that we now know that you cannot catch AIDS through touch. Though, for many years, people did believe that was possible. The problem with the Condom Hut is that the majority Italian-American community like to keep things very traditional to how they would in Italy. It just so happens that Del Vecchio has chosen the grand opening of the Condom Hut to be the same day as a feast of the Madonna. To add fuel to the fire, it is a very Catholic community too. Catholics often don't agree with the usage of condoms or any form of contraception. The Condom Hut infuriated the locals. They deemed it a disgrace and wanted to burn it to the ground. The irony, I guess, of that part of the story is that Del Vecchio herself was Catholic, but she understood that abstinence is not for everybody, and it certainly wasn't a solution to the problem of AIDS. She said, "I believe my religion, but I disagree with the church. I think it should be a little more real about issues such as abstinence. Abstinence may be what we should do, but that's not reality. We have to think about AIDS and other sexually transmitted diseases." Alongside some early purchases at the Condom Hut, Del Vecchio handed out brochures on safe sex, which came from the Rhode Island Department for Health and the Rhode Island Project AIDS. The director of family life for the Roman Catholic Diocese of Providence was quoted at the time saying, "This woman, under the guise of concern about AIDS, is trying to make a buck. We try to hold out an ideal to young people to wait to have sex until they are married. When you give them condoms, as they do in school, or open a pink and white condom hut that stands out, young people see it as a promotion of sexual activity." Now, I want you to let that statement sink in, and especially who it was coming from. It's pretty bold of someone connected to the church to attempt to preach about the promotion of sexual activity when, well, you get the point. The city's building inspector was also not able to evade the protesting. Many people called to request he close down the Condom Hut before it opened, but he explained that there is no law against what Del Vecchio was doing. Despite the threats and vandalism, the Condom Hut opened with moderate success. The first customer through to the Condom Hut purchased glow-in-the-dark condoms, which is part of an elaborate menu that Del Vecchio put together. Del Vecchio told the New York Times that business picks up in the evening and continues until closing time at 10:30 p.m. Del Vecchio also stated, "The people who are opposed to this are the same people who avoided talking to their children about sex, which is what led to this epidemic. Maybe if we get this out in the open, the number of AIDS cases will stop growing, and we can save the next generation." This part of the story really stuck out to me when I did my research for this, because I find what Del Vecchio is saying and her approach to the topic of AIDS to be quite refreshing, especially because it was only 1992 when she was expressing these opinions. For context, in 1992, the estimated figures for HIV infection at the time were 5 to 7 million men and 3 to 5 million women, with 1.5 million full-blown AIDS cases. 90% of those AIDS cases have died. The present-day estimate for confirmed cases is between 64.4 million and 113 million. In 2021, it was reported that over 40.1 million people have died from AIDS. Eventually, the Condom Hut did fold and Del Vecchio was forced to put her condom selling days behind her, but the concept and innovative idea are so fascinating to me. As a lesbian myself, the history of LGBTQIA+ folk is something I'm striving to learn more and more about, and this story may not have a happy ending per se, but I think it's important to consider even the smaller fights that some people tried their hardest to battle in order to help others out within the community. It goes to show you that allyship, resources, and just being an open-minded person can do wonders, despite the feelings of others around you. I think that's a lesson we all could learn from. I tried my hardest after doing my research to find out what Emanuela Del Vecchio is up to today, but I couldn't really find much information about her. Wherever she is, I hope that she's having a blessed day. But that's all I've got time for. So don't forget to subscribe to The 90s Went Real, available wherever you get your podcasts. You can also catch me over on YouTube if that's more your thing. But until next time.